552 brake horsepower from a 6 litre W12 engine. The statistics just go on and on with these phenomenal Bentley Continentals. At least they do when they work, which this one doesn't. In fact, it's fair to say it's got more problems than a Bank of England economist. So the Bentley Continental is behind me, and she's in a bad way. The air suspension's down on the front, if you can see that. But that's the least of our issues, because we can't get into the boot to one of the two batteries. So we've got to jump park, and we've got to take off part of the air filter housing to get to a little jump point behind it to try and get the boot open. Now, things are very tight in here, but then again, stuffing 12 cylinders and 6 litres of W12 into an engine bay generally does do that. Try that. It's tight as hell, like. You got it? Getting power to here should enable us to open the boot. If we can get the boot open, we can get on the other battery. Open. Get in. There are two batteries in the boot of the Bentley, one to jumpstart it and one to control the rest of the systems, but this engine needs some serious ampage.
I wonder if this pack's just not big enough to... it's not yours, no?
20 minutes later though, we have the beast started. However, the joy of getting this running could be very, very short-lived, because as you can see, this car has been left in total abandonment. It's in a real state. It's covered in abrasives and chemicals and grime from a nearby industrial estate. Fortunately, it's empty of stale fuel, but that doesn't mean to say that everything else is going to be okay. Because what's under all of this dirt and grime could be a horror story. Or a detailer's worst nightmare.
On the Bentley, the window isn't working, and we can already see that this seal is not quite where it should be. The actuator and the mechanism that controls the window sits behind, obviously, this panel, and I believe that this rear seat has to come out. But before we do that, I'm going to see if a window reset will actually get this car working. So I'm going to go through each window, putting it all the way down and up, letting go, pulling up and holding for a couple of seconds, and resetting every window on this car. Now I heard that clunk, so that makes me think that actually that window hasn't been reset properly. And we've got absolutely no response from this window here, so it's definitely jammed. I can hear the mechanism start to work, but it's definitely, obviously, not coming up. Oh, there we go. Stop, 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 stop. We've got a little bit of success. Right.
This trim is coming away from the window and it should be gripping onto the side of it, so I'm going to have to try and tuck it back down and see if I can get it in. I need to get this car watertight so that I can actually get this washed. So let's see if we can get this to work and the windows fully up. So today is the day that we're going to finally wash this Bentley Continental GT. We've half repaired the windows, got the seal back in place, but it does need a new one. And before we do any more work on the car, we've got to get this thing clean because it is so filthy. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable that a Bentley can get into this condition, but indeed it is. It is really missing its usual regal status, and we had better sort that out. Then again, right now it's got the king of all problems, which is the fact that it needs the engine out because it has that cracked exhaust manifold. But that's not the only problem. As I've already mentioned, there are a bunch of other electrical and mechanical problems going on with this car. But I'm still incredibly concerned about this paintwork. The more I look at what's on this car, the more it troubles me because it's really thick, it's really deep, and it's very difficult to tell exactly what it is.
W12 baby, W12. We've got all sorts of things going on. Vehicle is too low, so we've got a fault with the air suspension that we already know about. That's leading to quite a few lights on the dashboard. Got to wait to see if this will raise itself up. There's leaks in the system. That's a real problem with these. This car's really dirty inside, and don't know if we're going to attend to that today, but we're going to at least get the outside clean. And yeah, we've got a bunch of lights on the dashboard, which is not great. So there's lots of faults with this Bentley. But first of all, we've got to get this clean, because honestly, you can't work on a car when it's like this. We're just going to end up damaging the paint aside from anything else. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's always a worry with these old cars when they've been stood for so long. Driving them just 20 yards still puts a fear of God into me, quite frankly. There's lots of lights, mechanical and electrical issues with this car, and when it's something that's as expensive as this, yeah, it's frightening. I don't know what the condition of the paintwork is like under all of this grime and filth, but we're about to find out when we actually get this cleaned off today. This has had literally years and years and years of just abandonment and just no love and no care gone into this, and this is really, really very dirty. So we're going to have quite a lot of work to do to get this looking somewhere near. Comedically, somebody has written "sell me" in the back of this, but you know something, not a bad idea. Now, you know the usual drill with something that's this dirty. The aim of the game is to try to not touch the car until we've got as much contamination off as we possibly can. So in this case, it was a case of rinsing and citrus pre-washing the car a few times, and snow foaming the car a few times, and going through that process to try and remove as much contamination as possible. When we did use the snow foam, I was also using a brush to agitate all of the creases and nooks and crannies, door handles, badges, etc. with this car, where any contamination and dirt could fall in, because again, when you rinse that, it's going to just shoot out all over the car again. Now, as you can see, I gave this a really, really thorough rinse, pre-wash and also snow foam, and then Nicola went over the car again, as well as obviously working all of the alloy wheels, and we was wanting to really start to try and get some of the grime out of the interior as well, because we didn't want that contamination coming back in and out of the car. Now, by the time you hit the hand wash stage, you hope that you've got as much contamination off the car as possible, so that you're not dragging all of those bits over the top of it. But I have to admit, at this stage, I was starting to become a little bit nervous about what was underneath. This Bentley is so unbelievably dirty. It's just a real state. We have snow foamed it, we've citrus pre-washed it, we've hand washed it, we've rinsed it numerous times, we've hand washed it again, we've rinsed it again, we've hand washed it again. And despite all of that, my worst fears were realised, because look at the state of this clear coat. Whatever has been on top of this car has just eaten into and etched into the clear coat, just leaving this really milky, dull effect all the way across the roof, down the pillars of the car, down onto the rear wings, and it's even etched into the glass. And you know something? I'm not fully sure that I'm going to be able to correct this. Let's see if this will still fire up and pull it out for another look. Now, as you can see, the clear coat is really bad. There is lots of staining and etching in it, and we're going to have to test that to see whether or not we can actually correct it and fix it. I really don't know at this stage. It's pretty much guesswork until we actually crack on and start doing it, which I'm not going to do right now. There's a bunch of other faults on this car that I also need to get a good idea as to what they are and what we can do to fix them. Well, the air suspension is holding up so far. We're averaging, look at this guys, averaging 10.6 miles to the gallon. That's not the greatest mile per gallon that you could ever have. That is the sound of a leaking exhaust manifold, which is very bad indeed. Well, that's the Bentley Continental GT in all of its glorious state of disrepair and abandonment. And as you can see, we've already found quite a few problems, and I'm sure we're going to find a lot more. In the next video, I'm going to talk to you about the cost of doing some of these repairs, and I think we'll do two things. We'll work out a cost at retail if you had to pay for this through a Bentley dealership, and we'll also work out a cost of trying to replace and do some of this cheaply and also ourselves, and see where we get to. Thank you guys for watching. If you've not yet subscribed, then hit the subscribe button. Make sure to click the bell icon, and I will see you in the next one.